So hi again guys, this is Christian Thomson speaking about neurology with Rob Kavanagh, who hosts the PDTR functional neurology course, and he owns and runs the EPIC approach. And we're going to be talking today about some what's, whys and hows for functional neurology, and to basically cut down the gap of confusion to what we actually do to some non-bullshit explanations. Rob, so you want to start us off?
My background is physiotherapy. I have significant experience of dissatisfaction with certain areas of how we are assessed as human beings when we have problems or dysfunctions, when we are unhappy, when we have dis-ease, when we have dysfunction, pain in our system. When, like, the focus of Christian's talk on the 13th is the idea of being superhuman and unleashing the master within us.
Yeah.
And ultimately, being superhuman, what is that? How do we judge that? How do we measure that? Mastering your life, how do we judge that?
Yeah, completely right. So how do we know how to get to our ultimate or our best selves if we don't know where we are to start with?
Yeah.
So Rob, can you take us through some of the processes we use to actually ascertain where we currently are and what we need to do next to get to the next level?
So, nice juicy question. So, in effect, in order to understand where you are now and why you are feeling the way you are feeling now, be that awesome and great, or be that not feeling great, or be that like something just doesn't feel right, you will find it quite confusing and quite stressful if it doesn't make any sense to you why. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So what we do is we understand the power of having very, very clear and detailed information over the entire timeline of your existence on this planet from the moment you started to exist.
Yes.
And we refer to that as the context. So context is time, space, information, energy, resources, and putting it all together to understand why. So from a neurological point of view, getting clear on where your baseline is requires collecting and gathering as much clear, original and authentic information as possible about your history, but also in understanding and assessing how your body as a organic receptor of information, and then it responds hopefully appropriately to that information. If that information is correct, if that information is received correctly, and if that information is processed correctly, the response will be appropriate and efficient and optimal and generally quite effortless because it trusts its reliable information. However, if the information is getting skewed or perverted or misinterpreted somewhere along that chain of command, chain of communication, things can go a little bit off.
Yeah, so basically the body misinterprets information.
Yes.
Or miscommunicates information, and
Yes.
therefore we have an abnormal response,
Yes.
which causes either physical pain or problematic physical symptoms. Yeah.
And it's very stressful and very inefficient energetically. So what we do in the EPIC approach is we make people aware of the concept of resourcefulness and resilience. If your brain is left free to just efficiently and optimally process clear information, it's a big fun house of an experience. It's a three-dimensional, rich, multi-layered, multi-dimensional life. However, if it's misinterpreting a lot of information because of traumas and triggers and a unhealthy, toxic environment, what happens is our brain is designed to do two things. It's designed to keep you alive and move you. And most of that movement that it's designed to do is to keep you away from the thing that might kill you. So our brain is designed to modulate threat. Now, they talk about pain. Pain is a symptom. Pain is sometimes misinterpreted as in pain science as nociception, but nociception are particular types of neurological receptors in our tissue of our body that transmit information to tell the brain that that thing that they're feeling is potentially a threat and get away from it. This is why we have primitive reflexes. This is why when you touch something hot, you don't think about taking your hand away from it, you take your hand away from it. However, if at any point any of those normal reflexes are not doing their job normally or are dysfunctional, but they're functioning dysfunctionally, what happens is you're using a lot of energy to scan and check how vulnerable you are in your environment to threats around you that are possibly not threats. You can misinterpret things and overreact to things that you can perceive as threatening that aren't threatening. That's exhausting.
Well, I guess one of the next things we want to go on to is managing our environment
Yeah.
and the possible possible pieces of our environment that are going to trip us up and cause us to react poorly and then bring our computer crashing down.
Yeah.
So, Rob, can you give us some basics on environment and how to create a superhuman environment?
Well, what I'd like to turn the question back to you for a second, Christian,
Yeah.
because I know this is something you're currently quite enjoying and experimenting with, and you're quite invested in, and you're having a lot of fun with it. Can you tell us, from your experience, what you find are significant things in the environment that are having an effect on your own neurology and what you're observing on the people you work with?
Well, okay, so chemicals are a massive thing. Deodorants is something that very commonly people are reacting poorly to. Anything from soaps, aftershaves, shampoos, hair gels.
Chemicals are not good for us. I'm sure there's some chemicals that are good for us, but the majority of chemicals in external topical applications that we're exposed to are not ideal.
Well, this is the thing as well. I mean, not everyone's going to have the same response.
Yeah.
So everything depends, which is the worst answer in the world. But
No.
it's the answer.
I think it's a groovy answer, and it's quite liberating for everybody involved. But it requires a couple of things, which are patience. It requires open-mindedness. It requires curiosity, and it requires you to be quite courageous and brave into stepping to the "it depends." It's a bigger space thing. So being superhuman, if you can get somebody into a state and help them manage their environment around them, that can create their ability to regenerate resources and regenerate resilience so they can become more resilient and more resourceful to adapt to their environment, what happens is the whole world tends to slow down because they go from what we would refer to as a primitive reactive state where all your primitive part of your brain is designed to keep you alive and is quite reflexive, reactive, and then afterwards you reflect and go, how the hell did that happen, or why did I say that, or why did I react that way, versus pausing, considering, and choosing, making the decision to respond, potentially, hopefully, appropriately, which is the ability to respond, which is becoming responsible. These are the things we're trying to generate. These are the mindset we're trying to generate in the students on the seminars that we are teaching.
It's about being the master of your environment, or being your environment being a product of you, rather than the other way around. Everyone just seems to be a product of their environment, which is again why it's their fault and
where
why
do
it's
they
not their
start?
fault.
Here's a question.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all good in theory. Our internal state is a reflection of our external state. Our resilience, our resourcefulness is a reflection of how much access we have to that resilience and resourcefulness, and how much we can adapt to our environment. However, where's the chicken, where's the egg, where do we start? Where do we get our baseline?
That's what the entire talk's about on the 13th.
This is what's going to be really, really groovy, and this is what I'm looking forward to, is looking at how that juiciness all goes together.
So, well, the talk on the 13th, we're going over the 4 elements of what our superhuman system is. And this is my current theory. My theory evolves.
Don't give away too much.
My theory evolves constantly.
Daily.
Daily.
Yeah.
And I'm always working on it, I'm always studying it, and that's why I do what I do. But the psychology, the nutrition, the physiology, and the neurology, between those 4 elements is where you can create a superhuman system.
Changing mindset and having the resources to do it is very much based on a very, 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 very simple, primitive thing that we touched upon at the start. If I don't feel safe, I am going to use all my resources to try to feel safe. And I'm going to use all my awareness and my perception to try to put myself in a space that's the safest possible place, so I feel safe, so I feel good, so then I can do stuff. But if I haven't addressed why I don't feel safe, I'm expending all those resources and not feeling safe in putting myself into a box or locked in a room in my house that I won't leave because it's the safest place. So what we're trying to help people become aware of and understand, and that it will make sense, is that neurology is the organic system of communicating information in our systems, both how we receive it and how we give it out. Superhuman is not superhuman. Superhuman generally is the normal human or optimal state that you have not felt since you were a kid. Remember, kids aren't superhuman, but they bounce off things. They have crazy energy. They absorb languages and concepts like this.
You don't see a tired kid.
Yes. The journey towards superhuman, in my view, is actually a regression, or is a progression of a regression back to a childhood state of resourcefulness and resilience.
Yeah, completely.
With the additional value of massive experience.
I mean, the first stage of nutrition within the system, realistically, is a detox, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
because your body isn't detoxed. It's actually replenishing the body's natural abilities to detoxify itself and bring itself back up to a good state. So this is like one of the first steps, is just to get yourself out of toxicity, to get yourself into a good state.
And I think the buzzword of toxicity and detox, which is very trendy and hashtaggy, but if you imagine detoxification and toxins are not just nutritional, not just digestive, they're also endocrinological, they're also mindset, they're also psyche, they're also identity. You know, the best place where you were the most successful and you were the most fluid and sponge-like learner was when you allowed yourself the natural permission to mess up and fail the whole time. It's called falling on your arse as a kid. You know, there's this obvious analogy, which I've heard in certain circles, that a kid at some stage just doesn't sit in its arse and go, you know what, this whole walking lark that it's hard work, I don't think it's for me. I think I'm just going to I'm happy here, I'm safe here, I don't like failure anymore. I think I'm just going to crawl around on my hands and knees and sit in my arse in nappies for the rest of my life. I don't think so. I think we've touched on some really groovy stuff there. I think to wrap it up full circle, your talk is on the 13th of August.
Yeah.
After you've experienced 8 days of functional neurology under our tutelage and assistant with Dr. Palmer. And then I'm going to come along, I'm going to bring some of my colleagues along, and I'd highly encourage anybody who's curious, open-minded, brave, and all those things, who wants to come along and hopefully get a few aha moments, come along to that talk.
Yeah, so thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Christian.
Yes. Do you want to tell everyone about the next event as well?
Anybody who, if any of this has resonated with anybody in my gobbledygook, in my technically, simply, blah 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 stuff that I talk about, which is my own head outside, which is scary. If you're interested in understanding about what makes us human, why and how we do things, I am hosting a 2-day Introduction to PDTR, Proprioceptive Deep Tendon Reflex. It's titled The Essentials of Understanding Functional Neurology, and that will be the 24th and the 25th of September. We'll put the link in the link of it in this video.
Yes.
And there is a couple of bits of information in that, what's going to be on over the Saturday, the Sunday, what the schedule is going to be, what we're going to touch upon, what the dates are, what the location is, what the price is.
Right, well, I can't suggest that you come to that seminar even more.
You can't suggest?
Yeah, I can't suggest any more that you should come to that.
Yes, you
seminar.
can. Suggest more.
Suggest more.
Come on, suggest more.
It's going to be fantastic. I've seen some of the material that's going to be talked about over those 2 days. I'm definitely going to be there. I will be fresh back off my holiday.
And also,
so
Christian, what I'd say is if you're curious about what PDTR as a technique and as a tool to introduce it into your life, be it as a therapist, as a clinician, as a trainer in any shape or form, Christian is a beautiful example of prototype number 1, number 2, number 3, all of the above. We are the engineers of ourselves, we are the prototypes of ourselves, and everything I've ever done with anybody, I've done on myself first, which gives me good ability to empathise, good ability to apathize, and struggles with the ability to sympathize, because I've been through the process and I know what's involved.
Right, so thank you guys. So that was our little talk on some hows and whats about neurology. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and please get your tickets ASAP for the 13th, and if you guys are interested, look into coming along on the 24th and 25th for the PDTR, the intro to PDTR.
And the last thing I'd say is, if you're interested in this type of way of talking about things and understanding the world, you probably find our blogs, our case studies interesting, because they're very contextual. They talk about human beings and their history and their context. So go to our Facebook page, The Epic Approach, or www.theepicapproach.co.uk, and we have a section there with a huge amount of blogs.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Some of the results that these guys have got with their treatment processes is just unreal.
Epic.
Yes, epic.
It is. And I stand directly behind that, in front of it and on top of it.
I'll even have someone at the event on the 13th who has had a bit of a transformation through PDTR themselves. Burgess will be there, and he got some really incredible things.
And he's starting as a student on
he is. He's going to.
He'll be able to talk about his experience in the first 4 days of foundation.
He's actually been so impressed by his treatment from me that he signed up for the course himself. He's also a body transformation coach, one of the top ones in London. So yeah, that's how powerful this stuff is.
His testimonial is in our information.
Yes, his testimonial was in the event description. So click on that, have a look at that as well. That's going to, the whole thing is going to be epic. Everything's going to be amazing. Come down to the talk. It's just a must. It's a no-brainer, guys.
Thank you, guys and girls.
Yes.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
You can check out Sam's information in the
Yes, Sam Palmer, who is filming this, his information will be below as well if anyone wants to get a videographer. Right, that's it. Signing off, guys, before we talk for too long. Right,
too late.